So, Dee, should we tease with movies or snakes?
Well, let's start with the movie you saw, and then I'll talk about the snake.
Okay. I saw Michael, the movie about Michael Jackson.
Hmm. It shows how out of it I am. I didn't even know it was out. How was it?
It was pretty good. Very interesting. Came away with a bit of an appreciation for his weirdness and how he ended up being the way he was.
Did you know I saw him in concert once?
I did not know that.
Yes, and I was not a huge fan. I mean, I liked his music. It was okay. But I got to see him. It was when he was doing The Man in the Mirror and he
Okay.
moonwalked. That was his album, The Man in the Mirror, the song, I don't know. And he moonwalked with that hat and he stood in front of a mirror. Okay, after that, yes, I had an appreciation for him too, but please tell me that you're not getting a pet monkey like he did.
Yeah, he had a pet monkey named Bubbles.
Okay.
He also had a pet giraffe, a snake, all kinds of wild animals. But anyway, I did look up, and Bubbles is now in a sanctuary in Florida, and Michael's estate pays an annual fee to
Take
keep
care of
Bubbles
Bubbles.
going. Bubbles is 43 and apparently weighs 185 pounds, so he's no longer a cute little monkey.
No, those monkeys and those chimps get big, so you don't really want to have one.
Speaking of
Um,
things that get big, so
sure.
you texted me and said I had to capture a snake.
Yeah, my cats cornered a snake in my living room, actually. I don't know how it got in, but it was tiny. I mean, it was only, what, 4 inches long, and it was a ring snake, which is a type of snake in Oklahoma, and they have a little ring around their neck, and the bottom of them is a color, and anyway, I picked it up with a plastic bag because I didn't know how upset it was, and I took it outside, and I let it go. Bill goes, "Here, throw it in the trash," and I go, "No, it's still alive," and it wasn't hurt. It was unharmed. I caught it fast enough. I'm not scared of snakes. I'm cautious. So,
As one should be. You don't
yeah,
know if it's venomous or non-venomous, but anyway.
let's stop monkeying around. Ha, ha, ha. See what we did there?
Okay, I'll
Let's start
slither
this.
into this episode.
Oh, good one.
Welcome to the Garden Angelus, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
And I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I have 2 gardens out in the country at the moment.
We are Garden Angelus because we love gardening, and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do, and we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But let's move on to this week's episode. Can I say something really quickly because I'm going to forget it otherwise?
Sure.
I booked our estate sale, and I'm letting people
Nice.
know on the podcast because there's going to be some gardening stuff in it. It is tentatively June 4th and 5th. So it'll
Coming
start
right
on
up.
a Thursday night and go through Friday, I think, is how it's set up. And so mark your calendars if you want to come out and get some garden pots, and maybe there'll be some roses in pots because I don't want to move them all. There's some big pots, like a couple of them that are big. And there's some other things and there's a lot of things, including my little Fiat. We're gonna sell it too. So
My
if anybody wants a
goodness,
little
Dee.
baby Fiat, they can have it. All right, let's go
For
to garden
money, they
update.
can't have it, have it.
No, they have to pay for it. I don't know
Okay.
what it's gonna cost. Don't ask me. All right, go. What happened in your garden this week?
So
Wow.
we got some rain Monday night. No, Tuesday. Monday night, Tuesday, all day Tuesday for sure. That's the day I went to see the movie. And then we got rain last night, and it's almost 3 inches of rain this week. Nice, slow, steady
That's really
rains.
good. I'm glad you got that.
Really good. I did manage to squeak in mowing the lawn. I did some weeding, got another bag full of weeds out of here. I went to a garden center just east of here
Uh-huh.
and bought some more perennials, got those planted in the pink garden. I potted up the little ferns that I had bought for hanging baskets, got those all taken care of. Yesterday, Friday, because this is a rare Saturday morning recording, I went to Quartz to help my younger sister buy flowers for her condo. They are sold out of the skyscraper salvias that I must have. And I'm like, Courtney, because last year I think she had 2 crops of it. And this year I think she just has 1. She was checking on it. Little bit of a mini crisis for me because I got to have my skyscraper salvias.
Yeah, you love those.
And, so I did also sow more microgreens because 'cause I'd eaten through all the ones that I had grown. And then this morning, I sowed some seeds inside for signet marigolds and canary yellow zinnias, and in a couple of weeks, they'll be ready to plant out.
Mhm.
And earlier in the week, between all the rain and stuff, I gathered crocus seed pods,
Oh, cool.
and I put them all in a bowl, and I was delighted to see that if you put them in a bowl and they kinda dry out, they sort of crack open and scatter their seeds, so I just had to get the debris out, and then I have a nice envelope full of crocus seeds to sow this fall. So I need to make a note, like November 1st, to sow them out in the lawn because they shouldn't now's not a good time, they're not gonna do anything. So,
Right.
anyway, I had a
Very
good week.
cool.
How about you?
Okay, so I planted a few things. I brought home some Suncoleus, one of the big orange ones that is so glorious. Cherry Profusion zinnias to go with my orange Profusion zinnias. I have a whole orange and pink thing going on this year.
Nice.
Partly because I bought one of those ribbons at the greenhouse, the one that's called Wild Child, and it has pink and orange in it. I fell in love with it.
What was
Then
it
I
you bought
also
that was pink and
huh?
yellow? Pink what was it
I
that
bought a ribbon for my, front door wreath.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I'm good.
Melissa's been making these ribbons that you can switch in and out for the
Mhm.
holidays and also for the OKC Thunder, go Thunder. Um, so I planted cherry perfusion zinnias, I planted the African blue basil that Sherry brought me from Texas, some lantana that's pink, and also pink pentas. And then I started mulching my front garden. I got talked into using shredded, cedar. I hate it because it clings together, but it does go with my house, so Luz was right, although it's a pain in the neck to put down. And then I had a nice thing happen, another nice thing. I was Southern Living Plant Collection reached out to me and sent me a new rose for my house because I mentioned them on the podcast recently. I don't even
Nice.
remember, but I did. And the rose is called It's a Breeze Ivory Blush, and I got it last night, and I'm gonna plant it. It'll only be 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet, which
Good
is
size.
good size for a rose. I want that to be pretty against the blue house, and then I worked at the greenhouse, and the reason I have on my flower cap is because 'cause I'm working there this afternoon. I
Very
traded
nice.
shifts with one of the other ladies, and we should mention we're recording this on Saturday because we record on Sundays now, and tomorrow is Mother's Day.
That's right, and I texted you and said, "Hey, Dee,
Mhm.
tomorrow
Something might
you're
be
a queen
going on.
for the day. Shall we record on Saturday?"
Well, I told my kids I like seeing them one-on-one, so we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Did you
They
schedule
kinda wanted
appointments
me
with
to
them?
do something for it, and I was like, "Heck no. I'm the mom, I don't have to do anything.
Ah,
I can just garden to my heart's content tomorrow." Alright, so let's talk about playing favorites. Boy, we were busy. Oh, and we got rain too. We got rain last night, so that's good. My garden's nice and damp, which really helps stuff settle in
it does.
because I have a lot of
You need nice gentle rains for all the stuff that you planted.
Yes, and I didn't get the storms. Other people got the storms, and I babysat my granddaughter last night, and we walked around and looked at all the flowers because she likes to do that, and it makes me
Nice.
happy. She gave me a critique on what she thought I was doing really well.
Oh, it's nice to know.
It is
You
nice
know,
to
my
know.
garden fairies, I wrote a blog post. They actually reviewed me on my latest blog post.
Did they?
My performance in the garden so far, they thought they would get ahead of the curve, as it were, and not wait until fall and see what corrective actions I needed to take now. So, yeah, 'tis the
Those garden
season.
fairies. Wow, they're
Yeah,
precocious.
I'll link to that. It's, if I do say so myself, they are quite the humorous writers.
They
But
are, they're very funny. Okay, so what's your favorite right now?
so mine is my peonies, the regular peonies. They are bursting out into bloom. They're really nice.
I
When
missed mine.
my sister, when after the greenhouse, she came by here and I potted up a mandevilla that she bought, and
Mhm.
I had a nice big pot she could take. And then we went and looked at the peonies, and I cut some and gave them to her, and I'll probably cut some for myself, bring them in the house. But anyway, so it's May. The peonies are looking lovely. They are
Ours
early
bloomed in
too.
April, and I missed them at my old house. I saw a few, but not very many, and that's just because I didn't time it right, and it always rains when the peonies and the iris bloom here, And so sometimes you miss those blooms.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Here's one more thing about peonies.
mhm,
Most of mine have opened up, but if this is the time to look, and if you get one that's marshmallow sized bud, you can cut it, strip the leaves off, wrap it up in like saran wrap or plastic wrap,
mhm.
stick it in the back of your refrigerator, and then if you want a peony bloom in July, pull that sucker out, and it will open up within hours. And
You
I
did
think
that.
I wrote a yeah, I've done it several
Mhm.
times, and I know I wrote about it. Maybe I didn't. Did I write about it for Family Handyman?
I think you did, yeah.
I think it's also on my blog. We might link to that in case the listeners thinking, well, there's nothing I'd like more than a peony bloom in July.
You never know. You might.
Your favorite.
My favorite this week is the Leonardo da Vinci rose, and I took a picture of it and sent it to you for the newsletter, notes, whatever. And pink just looks so good in a blue container.
Oh,
In fact,
yeah.
that's a great tip from me. If you have a swimming pool, which a lot of people in Oklahoma have swimming pools, and you want to plant containers, turquoise containers with pink flowers. I don't care what the pink flowers are. And of course, you got to mix green stuff in there too. There's nothing like it. I'm telling you, it's just about as beautiful as it gets,
Is the
but
bomb, as they say,
it's the bomb. All right, question of the week. Carol, why didn't my peonies bloom?
because you're not a very good gardener.
No. No.
So there's several reasons. Most often, if you've recently transplanted a peony or planted it, if you get it too deep, it doesn't like that. No deeper than 2 inches, that top of that root. And also the first year or 2 after you plant something, it may not bloom, it's trying to grow. It knows what to do. It knows to grow roots and leaves and then worry about flowers later. So that could be just it's a new peony.
Mhm.
Also, maybe it got into too much shade. It was sunny when you planted it and then the trees grew.
Mhm.
That could do it. Or, they as a perennial, they last forever in the
Like a
soil.
100 years.
You often see them around old homesteads in Indiana. It is our state flower, even though it is from Asia. Um,
That's okay. Our
and
state
there's an
flower's the
empty
Oklahoma rose.
lot up on the way to church. I think there's an empty lot, and I always see a peony in there.
Mhm.
And so, anyway, might need a little bit of fertilizer, just kind of worn out where it's at. So,
I'm gonna say most likely it's too deep
yes,
because part of the thing that helps peonies bloom is the cold, and unlike most plants, they like their roots, even their crown, to be cold. So they have to have that cold in order to bloom well, and that's a huge problem in Oklahoma. People plant them way too deep, and they wanna be right below that surface, just
right.
right there. All right.
All right. Good
Insect of
question.
the week you found.
Well, I decided on crane flies. You know those weird looking insects that have legs a mile long and
Yes.
they're kind of creepy looking, and the first thing you want to do is like swat it away. Just leave it
Right.
alone.
It's not gonna do a thing. It's not gonna hurt you.
No, they don't bite. They're harmless for us. They don't sting. The adults only live 10 to 15 days, and their whole purpose is to reproduce. And then the
Mhm.
larvae feed on organic matter to help decompose stuff in the environment when it's wet out.
That's interesting.
So,
Now, are they
crane,
the same thing we call mayflies?
no, they're different.
They're different. Maybe we should do mayflies next because
Okay, we'll do
those
mayflies
were
next. But yeah, crane flies, just a weird looking, legs, real long legs.
I love it.
Love it. I'll do a
Quote,
quote. Gardening is the art that uses flowers and plants as paint and the soil and sky as canvas. Elizabeth Murray.
so this week, I said, "Let's do these because I was so excited.
You said, so
So,
this week, all about containers.
I have been planting containers a lot this year,
Yes, you
and
have.
we thought we would talk about what we personally are growing in containers, and so I took you several pictures. I haven't sent them yet because, well, the snake
Is exactly.
the snake got my attention and I came in from outside taking pictures and I was like, "Oh, okay." So the first one we mentioned is salvia. I think salvia makes a great depending on the size of the container, it can make a great centerpiece of the container or the thriller, or it can be the spill I mean, not the spiller, the thriller or the filler. I'll get it out.
Well, I like the salvia to be the thriller. I like it front and center, and I like those skyscraper ones, and
I know
so
you
I'm
do.
gotta find those because the containers on my back patio, there are 5 of them, and
Mhm.
at least up now at this point, all 5 have violas in them, and then I will
Most of
take
mine do
those out
too.
in the next week or so, and I will plant salvias in all of them,
Right.
and I will also plant maybe well, I'm to the point where it's basically salvias with a little bit of a filler.
Okay. So here's my question for you. If we can't find the skyscraper series, which skyscraper don't give me that look. Which skyscraper did you like? Because there's several different ones.
I like all of them. I buy them in every color that I can get. The pink,
So
the
if you
purple.
can't find those, go get the Wish ones because they'll have those, won't
I
they?
will look. Oh, Courtney doesn't
Wendy's
have any.
Wish, Ember's Wish, This a Wish, Love and Wishes,
They don't have any of
Kisses and
those.
Wishes. Oh,
They
okay,
don't
because
have any of those.
those are the same size is what I was thinking.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, in my book, right now I have Salvia longa spicata in a container because it gets nice and big. We actually have some at the greenhouse that are a mix between longa spicata and Farinacea, which is actually what I think I have. And I'm growing the purple ones out in my garden, and I'm growing the blue one in a blue container. And then you brought up geraniums. By that you mean
Classic geranium is the classic container.
pelargoniums. Yeah.
Pelargoniums.
There's 2 just for background for everybody again, there are 2 types of geraniums out there. Um, there's geraniums that are perennial, that are true geraniums, and then there's pelargoniums, which are the tropical plants we all call geraniums, colloquially. And within that class, we have a whole episode on every type of geranium you could ever want. Every type.
You find that and I'll link it.
I'll try. I'll do my best. And then you brought up roses and you said for me to go into this a bit more. Okay, so roses, if you're going to grow roses in pots, first of all, make sure it's not a giant rose if you can help it. You don't want quietness in there. I did it, but I knew I was going to move it in 2 years. And now it's in the centerpiece of my garden. Quietness is a very big rose.
Right.
Guess what else is a very big rose?
I don't
I'll
know.
tell you. Plum
Peggy
Perfect.
Martin.
Well, Peggy Martin's just a giant rambler. But Plum Perfect is a great big shrub rose that I'm growing in a container right now, and it's gotta come out.
Yeah.
I saw it in a garden, and I was like, "Holy moly." I
Well,
suspect that Leonardo da Vinci is too, and it might have to go in my back garden.
so that brings up the point that if you're going to grow a rose or really any kind of a shrub in a container, you do need to make sure that's one that is not going to get overly large.
And or you're gonna move it very quickly. And the thing is, you're gonna want a large container for certain shrubs for sure. And we have a lot of that where people grow certain shrubs or trees in their big containers, and then they come in each year and we give them the filler and the spiller plants to go with it. So then you brought up begonias, and by begonias, you probably mean the bedding begonias, right?
The bedding begonias primarily, and there's regal begonias, I think they're called,
Yeah. And there's also dragon wings.
dragon wing, and I
Oh,
I
love
have
them.
I have a begonia from Pan American Seed. They sent me a trial plan, and it's got a real bronzy leaf with a white flower. So I
Mhm.
have that in a container up by my front door because there's virtually no sun up there.
Yeah, because begonias want a little bit of shade, especially in our climates. Um, I don't think you can beat dragon wing begonias as a spiller. They just fall out of the pot and they look so, so beautiful. I have them in 2 pots, which I took pictures of. And then you mentioned herbs, and we're gonna talk more about that next week.
Next week, so go on to succulents in shallow containers especially.
I don't have much luck. Well, I say that. I have a lot of succulents. What am I talking about? I have a lot of succulents, but I don't have a lot of luck with those mixed bowls of succulents. That's just me personally. Lots of people grow them really well. The challenge is don't get them too wet because they
That's
will
right.
rot.
And my sister, she fell in love with those succulent bowls that Courtney has at the greenhouse, and so she
Mhm.
got one, and she's just gonna put it on her table, and I forgot to tell her to not overwater it, so I'll have to tell her, "Don't overwater it."
Yeah, don't water it very much at all. Even here, I don't water them much at all. And I noticed that one of my succulents has got some yellow leaves. And it's a desert rose, and I need to move it to the back patio because I think it's getting sprayed by the sprinkler. All right, so then I just quickly did a little bit more on this topic. So that famous article in Fine Gardening where they did thriller, filler, spiller, which is a great way to learn how to do your pot if you want to do a mixed pot. So for thrillers, I personally have purple fountain grass in mine. I love fireworks. I think fireworks is prettier than the standard purple fountain grass. It's also a little bit smaller. And then I already mentioned the Salvia longa spicata. And then we have all of this at the greenhouse, and I wanted to try those salvias in a container, so I did that. Now, my favorite thriller for that doesn't get super tall is Queen Tut papyrus. The Tut series has now King Tut, Queen Tut, Baby Tut, and Prince Tut. They're all great for different things, but the Queen Tut, Melissa's gonna laugh because I'm mentioning her in here again. Hi, Melissa. Um, Queen Tut, I saw it in her garden last year, fell absolutely in love. It looks like fireworks. I took a
Nice.
picture of it. So, I love those, and then for fillers, I don't think you can beat dragon wing begonias. They are also a spiller. Shade coleus, those are both for the shade. And then in the sun, I really like sun coleus and blue plumbago. I also like periwinkles right now. Periwinkles, especially the tattoo series. And we have spilling periwinkles, and then we also have the standard type. Tattoo is a standard type, and my favorite color right now is papaya. I bought it at Bustani, and then I bought more at my greenhouse because we got them in. So,
Cool.
and then spillers. I love honey petunias. Everybody laughs at me because I love them so much, but they change color, and
Right.
that's a cool thing about them. They also handle our heat pretty well, which is great. They're a proven winners one. And then we use a lot of greenery, but that's not flowers. So Calibrachoa is really good until about July when it kind of burns out. So you got to use something else then. So
Right.
you put in here.
That you could go to your local greenhouse and see what they have combined in containers because they will sell containers already planted.
Mhm,
And Courtney's got some beautiful containers with different things in them,
we do too. That's what we specialize in.
and then you can also it's also perfectly fine if you don't wanna mix plants in containers, or maybe you have more medium-sized containers, for example, to have, like, a grouping of containers and there's only one variety of a plant in each one. That is
Yeah.
a perfectly acceptable way to garden.
And hanging baskets are really great for that. Because it's
Yes.
already made and you just plunk it in there and it looks really good. So, if you don't wanna mix your containers, I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, it's up to you. And in fact, you can take your containers and you can put something tall in one and then put your fillers in another. You don't have to overdo. But
That's true.
for me, it's all about more, more, more. How do you
It
like
is. For me, it's all about those salvias attracting hummingbirds, and
I
so
saw one yesterday in my garden.
I didn't see one yesterday in my garden.
Brand new garden, and I had a hummingbird, you know why?
Nice.
I had Laura Bush petunia, which is a great big petunia, it's going to be, and then I also had those salvias. They love those tubular salvias.
That's what I want them for. I
You're gonna
really
get them.
pitched them when I talked about the to the senior group. I really pitched the salvias, and I told them to go to the greenhouse. I'm like, "Did those old like I'm sorry, did they buy those out from under me?"
I think they might have. You gotta be
No.
careful and not say that stuff before you go and do it first.
Well, and, it's been in the 40s at night, so I'm not, like, running out there to plant everything the way everybody else is apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, that
We
place is
finally, I
packed.
think, are out of the 40s. We had 40s this week, and my coleus were shivering. I have one in a pot that's going, "Are you kidding me?" Alright, so I do the quote, and then we'll go on to vegetables for containers.
There you go.
A garden requires patient labor and attention. Plants do not grow merely to satisfy ambitions or to fulfill good intentions. They thrive because someone expended effort on them, and that's by Liberty Hyde Bailey. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because one thing I tell people is don't fuss over the flowers.
No.
Don't fuss
Just
over stuff.
just do them, just all you've gotta do is weed and just kinda watch things in deadhead, and it'll be fine. Well, you do have to water. Don't forget to water, especially in summertime when it's hot.
So, vegetables, it's all about what vegetables do well in containers. And we live in an amazing era of gardening because the breeders are constantly coming out with new varieties that are bred to be smaller and to do well in containers. And they will label them patio this and container that. And
Mhm.
so you cannot go wrong. I went to Burpee and I just put in the search term patio vegetables.
And boy, did you get a lot.
On deck corn, and I remember when this came out,
I do
I
too.
don't know if anybody has gotten a corn cob off of on deck corn, but it's supposedly a corn that does well in a container.
You would definitely have to, pollinate it. I think that would be hard, but okay. I'm excited about the tomato. Sweetheart of the patio tomato. I bet
Yes.
those are those heart-shaped tomatoes,
Well,
and
they're little, like the whole big the picture they have, they're just loaded with them, the sweetheart of the patio.
which means they were fertilized beyond belief, but not with too much nitrogen,
And I'm
with
going to
other stuff.
grow, and we didn't put it on the list, the red currant tomato.
I've grown that. That's a good one.
And I'm
Mhm.
gonna grow in a container because when I would plant it in the vegetable garden, I'm like, "This is it's it's determinate, not indeterminate." And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, "Why didn't I put this in a container?" So I
Yeah,
am
so you're
this
gonna
year.
do that this year.
I am.
And then patio baby eggplant, which I think you've grown, haven't you?
I may have grown that. I can't swear to it.
Okay, and then there's mocha swirl sweet peppers,
That one's
which I
so
bet are
pretty.
really pretty.
Yes, because in the fall, they'll start selling ornamental peppers, like, with the really black leaves and the black peppers
Mhm.
for your Halloween containers if you do switch out in the fall. I don't switch out a bunch in the fall. But
That's
the
exciting.
but the mocha swirl sweet pepper, the peppers look so pretty, and
Mhm.
they're sweet peppers, they would be lovely to eat.
They're green and dark purple, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah. Hamburg lettuce, I've never grown Hamburg lettuce, but I've grown lettuce in a container a lot. Leaf
Yes.
lettuces do really well.
Yes, and I have a couple of containers on my back patio where I just broadcast lettuce and mesclun seeds, and they're very thick coming up, and I do need to harvest those leaves, they're just it was just for fun. I just had the seed.
Mhm. And then, you said be sure to note that insects will still find your plants, and they do.
They
I
do.
will say that I don't have as much trouble with insects when I grow vegetables in containers as I do if I grow them in ground in the garden, but they will find them, especially hornworms. And those would be tomato or tobacco hornworms, not to be
Right,
confused with other hornworms. I get so
right.
confused. Okay.
Um, Bigger pots because they will suck up a lot of water. Vegetables are growing pretty quick, and you wanna make sure that you don't have to water, like, night and day.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's
um
better if you can just get it down to 1 time a day or put them on drip irrigation, but you just don't yeah, bigger is better. I used to have a slide in my talk that said, "I like big pots, I cannot lie."
that's a good slide. You will have to fertilize probably,
Yep.
and you can add
Broad spectrum
flowers.
fertilizer. You want one that does everything, not too much nitrogen, because too much nitrogen, too much growth, not enough fruiting, attracts insects, etcetera, etcetera.
You wanna yes, and you can add flowers for color to your vegetable pots if they're big enough.
Yeah.
Now,
Pansies
I
and violas are beautiful in the spring.
years ago, remember, I went to Garden Com in Quebec City, and you did not go.
No, because I had kids graduating from everywhere.
And they had smart pots, the fabric pots,
Mhm.
around
They're great.
the Capitol building and all. And I've shared some of those pictures, but they were growing vegetables in all of those, and they were incredible.
Mhm, they were big, and I suggested them a lot to people who were growing stuff here, because you know what? You can if you want to, you can take out the soil at the end of the season, and you can fold them and put them away, or you can leave them out there. I used to leave mine out there. Of course, mine burned up in the fire, and
Right?
then Smart Pots was nice enough to give me some more, and then I switched to the Vago beds later, which are just large
But
pots.
they showed that it's really possible to grow. They had a
You can grow
Three
'em
Sisters
somewhere.
garden in one pot, so they
Yep.
had the corn, they had the squash, and they had the beans.
Yep.
So
You
that
could
was
do
really
that in a
nice.
big enough pot.
Yeah, a big enough pot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yawn.
It's Saturday morning. You were out partying all night Friday, right?
I was out hunting in the game is what I was out doing.
There you go. All right. Do you want to add anything else to the vegetable thing? Oh, vegetables need sunlight, so you can't do this in shade.
6 to 8 hours.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
think about that.
They like even more if you can give it to them.
Right.
Okay, that's it. Gardening quote for you.
Gardening simply does not allow one to be mentally old because too many hopes and dreams are yet to be realized. Alan Armitage.
Who we know.
We know Alan.
We've met Alan many times and
Yes.
walked with Alan, and he's
He's
funny.
got several books out there, but
He has a lot of books out there, and I think he's got an app, but I might be wrong about that. I don't know.
he might. We have 2 books today, Dee.
Okay, well, I don't have one of them because I think it got sold in the deal, but I have the current book.
So the first one is The Creative Container Garden by, I'm going to butcher these names because they're Norwegian, Anders Roenberg and Eric Sch- Sch- Schwenden.
Just say Swinburne, yeah.
Schwenden. Anyway, this is new, and these guys are from Norway, and they've come up with
Quite
this.
famous in Norway.
Yes, and we had not heard of them, but we don't follow Norwegian gardeners.
Not too much.
No, no. And so it's a very lovely book. And they, the chapter that is most intriguing to me, because it's Norway gets real winters like I do,
Mhm.
is they have a whole chapter on how to winter outdoors and winter indoors, basically how to deal with your pots. And they've got
Yeah.
10 perennials that can withstand winter outdoors. So if you're growing hosta, clematis, cold hardy ferns, cold hardy ornamental grasses, catnip, coral bells, lavender, sage, certain sages, bleeding heart, and garden scabiosa, they said can withstand winters outdoors in containers, which I think is marvelous.
Mhm. A lot of, a lot of roses can too. If they're the thing about containers is remember that they are 2 zones colder than your zone.
Yeah.
So
Now
whatever you put out there.
some of the advice is about bringing containers inside into a cool area, which I did with my pelargoniums. But
Mhm.
in keeping with our, that's a lot of work. Think long and hard before you plant a very large container with something that you think you're going to have to bring indoors or even move around to your garage for the winter, because that is heavy.
Yeah, extremely heavy, and I've noticed that as I've been moving, it's very heavy. I like this quote, which I think is funny. "I don't like being showered with a power washer, and neither do my plants." So in other
That's
words, don't make it too hard because people just blast their plants with water, and you don't wanna
right,
do that.
right. So this book is from Timber Press. They sent us review copies. It's really nice, and they've got we'll talk a little bit in dirt about some other things that um about this book and about all container books. But anyway, they've got a lot of good suggestions.
And there's
And
good information on propagation, which I love, and just, it's also funny to see how things grow in Norway versus Oklahoma.
yeah,
So this is a brugmansia, and it's on page 89, and it's in a tiny pot. Here, that same plant gets, like, 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide, and if it's in a sheltered area, it can even overwinter sometimes. So
yes.
oh, see, here's one that's big behind him. There's a
Oh,
big
yeah,
one, so it gets big there too.
yeah.
Anyway, it's a good book. It's really good. He's
A lot of great pictures, lot of good inspiration. So that's The Container Garden by Anders Roenberg and Eric Schwenden, and we'll
it's a
put
good
links
one.
to that.
And then
And
now you're
then,
gonna talk about a second one
well, we
that
talked
I
about this
actually
one
love.
last
You
year.
know what? I think I have that one
You
somewhere.
have this book, A Year
I
Full of
know because I
Pots,
love
Container
her.
Flowers for All Seasons by one of our favorites, Sarah Raven. We've talked about this before. This is one that, obviously it's a keeper for me. It's a keeper for you.
I'm sure it's in my bookcase.
But she goes through the year. And again, I mean, so this is a milder climate for me, England, but
Yeah.
just so many good ideas. And just even if you're going to plant some of this stuff in the ground, she has some good information. And I do,
And I like her container recipe, which
yes.
is like the Thriller Filler Spiller, but it's got a different twist, and why don't you say it because it's really good.
So what she recommends is you have the bride, which is the
Is your
star of the
thriller,
show,
your star of the show.
and then you have bridesmaids, which are like the bride. They're all gussied up, but not quite as fancy. And then she has the gate crashers, which is a color contrast. And so,
So, like, purple with yellow, for
yes.
example, or pink
Y
with orange. Those are gate crasher deals.
Or if you have, white with and then pop in some red and blue for
Right,
red,
red
white,
or
and
blue,
blue.
or even, dark purple, like one of those, oh, ornamental sweet potato vines that has the really dark purple leaves.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be great with white.
Yes. So anyway, it is a lovely book and it goes month by month, which also, is one of my favorites. So we thought we'd also give this one a shout out
Mhm.
because you can have more than one book on a topic.
Especially containers, 'cause they're endlessly fascinating in my
They are. So that's A
there you
Year
go.
Full of Pots, Container Flowers for All Seasons by Sarah Raven.
Alright, here's
Choices.
a quote. "Gardening is the purest of human pleasures." That's supposedly by Francis Bacon. How about that dirt?
So I struggled a bit to come up with dirt. I was going to make it all about my spinster core gardening that I'm trying to make a trend, but I thought, well, that's self-serving.
Heaven forbid we be self-serving on our own podcast. But go ahead. Instead, you decided to talk about unusual containers, which you know what
Yes.
that makes me think of? Remember that California garden and she was a potter? Oh my gosh.
I don't think
Well,
this is
here
one
we
I
go.
was
Ready? Gila Meadows.
I've
Gila
never been
Meadows
to it.
pots were amazing. Okay, I'll see if I can find one for the
Well,
deal.
I'm not talking about pots
Oh,
that you buy because they were made to be pots. I'm talking about people who repurpose things to grow in, such as like an easy one is 5-gallon pickle buckets that you can get at a restaurant, which are kind of ugly. Just don't make faces.
I like pots as art.
Uh, some people take those large black plastic pots and they paint them.
Ugh. Okay,
I've
keep
seen
going.
people take a file cabinet, take out the drawers, turn the cabinet on its side, and plant in it like a
Next, you're
big.
gonna talk about tractor tires.
No, I didn't put kitchen colanders. I've seen old kiddie pools, tractor tires. You'll want to paint them white. That's the classic D.
I've seen them painted pink and purple before. Kind of
I
an
have an old
Oklahoma thing.
wheelbarrow that I've planted in. I think I've taken pictures of it.
You
I have a
have.
children's wagon that I plant. It's actually growing lettuce right now, but it's not very deep. Um, so the things you want to look for if you're going to use something other than a regular old container: good drainage. You may need to add holes. You want it to be non-porous, deep enough to hold the roots of the plant, non-toxic,
Mhm.
especially if you're growing veggies. So don't take treated wood container of some kind and put your veggies in it. Plan for it to rot. Plan for it to rust. The, children's wagon that I have out there, I realized that the wheels it only has 2 wheels, and they've fallen off, so, anyway,
I'm
I did
gonna
a
send
search
this
on
to you
Pinterest
right
for
now.
unusual plant containers, and there was even one, somebody took an old bubblegum machine and made a terrarium out of it.
Uh-huh.
The glass top, and then are you looking at the page that I linked to, or
No, no. I'm looking at Gila Meadows pots, and I'm sending them to you.
ah, we'll put that in the dirt. We would like to hear from listeners if they're planting in something other than traditional pots, if they
I mean, I've done bowls. I've done lots of things over the years.
repurpose things.
Did you give them the information about what they're supposed to do, though?
Yes, I
As
did.
far
I
as
went through
you
all
did?
that while
I'm
you were
sorry I
looking up
missed
your
it,
pots.
but they are really pretty, though.
Well, we'll have to conclude a link to those. You'll have to send it to me.
Okay. I sent you a picture. Alright, so I think that's a great idea. I don't think tractor tires are good. I don't think black plastic pots painted are good. Yuck.
No, but
They're tacky.
I've seen some that have done it fairly well.
Okay, well, maybe I'm not being fair. Let's go on to the next part.
I'm gonna do a quote. "Gardening is how I relax. It's another form of creating and playing with colors." Oscar de la Renta.
Oscar de la Renta. Okay, so rabbit holes. My rabbit hole was looking up that snake because I was like, I knew he was a ring snake, but I couldn't remember if he was poisonous or not. And so I picked him up with a plastic bag and took him outside. He is not poisonous, but I found out a lot of information about ring snakes very quickly because I knew what to search. That's my
There
rabbit
you go.
hole. That's all I got. What's yours?
So, I have done a bit more research for Elda Herring,
Uh huh.
who's the next Lost Lady of Garden Writing. She comes out on Wednesday.
Uh huh.
I also read have you ever read Five for Sorrow, Ten for Joy by Rumer Godden?
I have. I love that book.
That
I
is
like In This House of Breed better, but I like this book too, and I tell him what that means, 5 for sorrow, 10 for joy.
well, it's about the rosary.
It is because there are 5 sorrowful mysteries, and then there were 2 sets of one's joyful and one's glorious. Since the book was written, the Pope added on, some more. He added on the luminous mysteries. But at the time, I thought that this was such a clever title.
Yeah, and this book, I believe it was published in 1989.
Yeah, a long time ago.
But it's a fascinating story of how very fascinating story of one woman's life from
It was. Yeah.
being a driver for a milit in the British Army at the end of World War II
Uh-huh.
to becoming the madam of the brothel,
Oh,
to
I forgot
prison,
that part. Yeah. Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
prison, to the convent,
Yeah, she eventually
and
went to the
people
convent.
coming in and out of her life. Fascinating.
It was
Really
a
a
really good book. I loved it. And then you're listening to Watership Down, which I've also read. It's
I have not
really
read
good.
that.
My gosh, so good.
It is good, and I always am looking for audiobooks to check out
Uh-huh.
from the library, and I didn't have any going, so I decided to do that one. It's about rabbits because I listened to the book about the hare last week, so
Yeah.
but it's very long. I was surprised how long it
It's
is.
extremely long. It took me a long time to read it. Who knew rabbits' lives were so fascinating?
Right, so I'm
These
a
rabbits.
third of the way through, so I have a lot of lawn mowing and weeding and all kinds of things to do to finish that book, so anyway, enough of that.
Oh, we're gonna talk about our garden to visit is Wing Haven in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's the gardens of Elizabeth and Edwin Clarkson, and then Elizabeth Lawrence's garden too.
Yes, and you and I have both been there.
Yep,
Separate
loved it,
times.
loved
I've
it.
been there twice, maybe 3 times, twice, and it's lovely, and, it's just on a suburban or a street in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're surrounded by other houses, and,
Because they're
Andrea
neighborhood gardens.
yeah, Andrea, the caretaker, when I went to the Elizabeth Lawrence garden is no longer she's retired,
Mhm.
but she was saying, the neighbors around don't really know what's going on there because they just don't pay
Both of them are
attention.
really secluded gardens, and I think only garden aficionados go visit. And, garden visitors tend to be polite as long as they don't have clippers in their hands.
Well, now Wing Haven, which is at the Elizabeth and Edwin Clarkson home, that's a 5-acre bird sanctuary,
Yeah, it's much more yeah.
and so they bring in a lot of Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops. I mean, there's a lot of groups that come there. They have got a nice room where they can do talks and things,
Uh-huh.
and then you gotta walk, like, 2 doors down to get to Elizabeth Lawrence's garden, which is more s but they're both secluded behind large brick walls, which
Yeah, you don't
sounds
know.
fortressy-like, but it's not.
No, not at all. Elizabeth Lawrence's garden is small, and it's just a beautiful little enclosed space. And at
Yes.
the end of the garden is well, I mean, I don't know if it's still there, but there was a plaque, and it was the Madonna and Child, and
I
it was
think it's still
really
there.
faded. And I asked, was her name Lori? Who was
Andrea.
the No, before Andrea, the
Oh, I don't
lady
know
who
who was
owned
before
it
Andrea.
before they sold it to Wingham. I think her name was Lori. Anyway, she told me that it had always been there and that, I don't even think Elizabeth Lawrence added it. I think it was there when she moved in. Anyway,
Well,
it's a beautiful place.
she had that house built, she put it in.
So she must have put it in the backyard. Yeah, maybe
But
we'll do that.
I know what you're talking about, but I
It's
think
really
when I
old.
was there, they were talking about restoring it. Now I haven't been there for 10 years, so
Me neither. "Excuse me, sir, cat, get down."
anyway, that's our garden to visit. If you're ever in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, look that up. Go see it. Garden commissions,
My garden commission is to get the rest of the to get the cat off my desk, to get the rest of the mulch laid. I need to get that finished, and also, I need to start thinking about how I'm gonna plant the back gardens, whether I want to do just seeds and do, like, sunflowers and zinnias, or do I wanna add some roses to it? I haven't decided, so, that's what I'm doing, and I'm working at the nursery 3 days next week, so
very
I'm
good.
busy.
Well, you're busy. I am
I'm
busy as
busy.
well. I'm gonna weed, mow, maybe trim some lilacs. They're about ready to be trimmed because things are fast in spite of the cold mornings.
Mhm.
Maybe plant out the vegetable garden if it warms up enough. Those tomatoes are just crying to go out into some real soil. They're very lanky. Find my salvias somewhere, my skyscrapers. I have garden club on Monday and I have garden group on Friday at the library. So in between, busy, busy, busy.
You have to text me when you find those skyscraper salvias.
So you can celebrate with me.
Yes, because this is really bothering you. I know it is.
All
That's
right.
it for today. Let's wrap
Yeah.
this up because 'cause I've gotta go change out my garden hose. That's my other one. I just saw the, truck pull up, and that means my sprayer's here, and I bought another new metal garden hose for the back because 'cause I'm telling you, those are lightweight, they don't kink, they're amazing.
Very good. Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us get noticed by others.
If you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you will get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to products we discuss. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get episodes on Tuesdays.
And if you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the garden gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody.